Hello, learners. Welcome again to our virtual classroom, and we will continue our discussion. A while ago, we have learned that geological processes continuously alter our world, and whether we like it or not, we need to cope with the changes. This time, we will learn about the other forces of nature that affect us, and that is hydrometeorological hazards. Now, when we say hydrometeorological phenomena, these are processes of hydrological, oceanographic, or atmospheric nature. Again, this involved hydrological cycles that occur in the atmosphere, such as evaporation, condensation, and precipitation, and in the ground, such as rainfall interception, infiltration, and surface runoff. Also, these cycles show their interaction. Now, it is also important to know the hazards that this hydrometeorological brings. Okay? So we have monsoon, tropical cyclones, floods, and lastly, we have tornadoes. Now, let me first discuss what is monsoon. A monsoon is a seasonal change in the direction of the prevailing or strongest winds of a region. Monsoons cause wet and dry seasons throughout much of the tropics, and monsoons always blow from cold to warm regions. And accordingly, the country experiences two kinds of monsoons, the northeast monsoon and the southwest monsoon. Let's have first southwest monsoon. This is locally known as habagat, okay? This occurs within months of May to October, and it is characterized by hot, humid weather, and it brings heavy rain to the Philippines. Next, we have northeast monsoon. This is locally known as amihan. Now, in the Philippine context, amihan refers to the season dominated by the trade winds, which are experienced in the Philippines as a cool northeast wind. Now, it is characterized by moderate temperatures, little or no rainfall in the central and western part of Luzon and Visayas, and a prevailing wind from the east, and it occurs within month of November to month of February. Now let's proceed to the second phenomenon, which is the tropical cyclone, or locally known as bagyo. We have there Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, which monitors tropical cyclone activity and issue warnings if they fall within the Philippine area of responsibility. Now, there are 20 cyclones entering the PAR, or Philippine Area of Responsibility, every year. Now, to know more the different categories of tropical cyclones and also to become aware of what type or what category of tropical cyclone we are already experiencing. So we have here the different categories of tropical cyclones and with sustained wind near the center. Now, if the sustained wind near the center is 30 to 60 kilometer per hour, that is tropical depression, and the possible impact or damage would be negligible house damage or damage to some crops or damage to some trees. If that is 61 to 80 kilometer per hour, that's tropical storm and minor house damage. Okay? If that is 89 to 117 kilometer per hour, that's already severe tropical storm, and some roof and structural damage would be encountered. Now, if that is 118 to 220 kilometer per hour, that's already typhoon, and the possible damage would be significant roofing loss and structural damage. And lastly, if that is faster than 220 kilometer per hour, that's already super typhoon, and there will be an extremely danger, widespread destruction. Okay? Now, one of the examples of super typhoon in the Philippine context, we have Super Typhoon Yolanda, and it was one of the most powerful tropical cyclones ever recorded, with the highest wind speed of 315 kilometer per hour. Now let's proceed to the third one. We have flooding. Now this happens when water from heavy rainfall are not properly channeled. Also, floods can happen during heavy rains, when ocean waves come on shore, when snow melts quickly, or even dams break easily. And as most people are well aware, the immediate impacts of flooding include loss of human life, damage to property, destruction of crops, loss of livestock, and deterioration of health conditions. And lastly, we have tornadoes. This is a violently rotating column of air that rotates while in contact with both the surface of the earth and a cumulonimbus cloud. Now, the impact of a tornado include the loss of human lives, roads, power, phone lines, crops, factories, homes, and even natural resources. Now, with all those hazards I have presented a while ago, it is also important for the public to be informed and to be prepared for any hazard so that they can survive at the end of the day. That's why the Pag-asa adopted different safety measures. One of those, we have the PSWS, or the Public Storm Warning System, in which the Pag-asa issues forecast and advisories in several mass media. Now, if you are fan watching weather forecast, you might familiar to this picture, which shows here the detail and the possible impact or damage. So this was effective May 1, 2015. For example, signal number 4 with sustained wind 171 to 220 kilometer per hour, and the possible impact or damage would be heavy to very heavy damage. In this way, people will become more aware and they can prepare themselves to whatever necessary things to do. All right. Next, we have the 3D hazard maps and flood maps. This is also quite essential, especially to those vulnerable areas or prone to flash floods. In that way, they can prepare themselves what are the things to prepare, and if there is a need to evacuate that area, they can do so because of these hazard maps or maps, okay, or flood maps. So we have here legends or different colors which corresponds different meaning. If yellow, that is low, the possibility of flash floods is low. If that is green, moderate. And if that is red, high, that means there is really a need of evacuation. Another measures adopted by Pag-asa, we have the color-coded rainfall warning system, in which it helps communities prepare for incoming heavy rain and potential flooding and act accordingly. So example, we have here different color coded rainfall warning system. Yellow warning, meaning flooding is possible. So the possible uh, actions to be taken is to monitor the weather condition, and if that is orange warning, the possible action to be taken is for possible evacuation. And if that is already red warning, so there is really a need of evacuation. The fourth one, we have the NOAA, or the Nationwide Operational Assessment of Hazard, in which it addresses disaster prevention and mitigation in the Philippines. So they are the ones who will communicate, inform, spread, disseminate important information to the public. Lastly, we have the class suspension guidelines in connection to the safety measures adopted by Pag-asa. in which, using the PSWS of Pag-asa, the Department of Education has adopted a class suspension guideline with regards to classes through Executive Order number 66 dated January 9, 2012. So we have here guidelines. Signal number 1, no classes in kindergarten. Signal number 2, no classes in kindergarten, elementary, and high school. And I think this includes senior high school. If that's already red, or signal number 3, no classes in all levels. That includes kindergarten, elementary, high school, and college, including graduate school. Okay? Reminder, the local government unit or LGU has the authority to declare local suspensions in areas where there is no storm signal. Okay? So if there is a need to suspend the class as early as possible, the local government can declare it as early as possible also. Okay? And that ends our session for today. Thank you very much for listening.